Welcome to the channel Rare Coin Finder, and before we dive in, I want you to take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at old coins forever. Imagine, just for a second, that you're cleaning out an old drawer, maybe your grandfather's desk, maybe a dusty box in the attic, and your fingers brush against something small, cold, and golden. You hold it up to the light, and you see a date, 1897. You think nothing of it. Maybe you toss it aside, maybe you put it in a jar with other loose change, maybe you give it to a kid to play with. But here's the thing that should make your hands shake right now. That tiny golden coin, that 1897 $1 gold piece, is worth a staggering, jaw-dropping, life-changing $361 million. Yes, you heard that right. $361 million. For a coin. A single, small, $1 gold coin from 1897 that most people would never give a second glance. And I promise you, by the time the script is over, you will never look at an old coin the same way again. But before we go deep into the 1897 gold dollar, I need you to stay with us till the very end of this video, because we have two more coins coming up after this one, coins from 1885 and 1899, and trust me when I say this, what's coming next makes even this coin story feel like just the opening act of something far more extraordinary. So do not touch that screen. Let's begin. The year is 1897. America is changing. The Industrial Revolution is roaring through cities like a freight train. Steel mills are blazing. Railroads are stitching the country together. And gold is the lifeblood of the entire economy. This is the era of the gold standard, where every paper dollar in your pocket was backed by actual physical gold, and the United States Mint was working overtime to keep up with the demand of a growing, hungry, ambitious nation. The $1 gold coin had actually been in production since 1849, born during the fever of the California gold rush, when rivers of prospectors flooded west chasing glittering dreams. By 1897, these coins had lived through the Civil War, Reconstruction, financial panics, and the rise of American industry. They had passed through the hands of farmers, merchants, politicians, and gamblers. They were real money, used in real transactions, carried in waistcoat pockets and hidden under floorboards. But not all of them were the same, and that's where the story gets dangerous, thrilling, and absolutely incredible. The 1897 gold dollar came in a specific type, Type 3, introduced in 1856, featuring a small Indian princess head on the obverse and a wreath surrounding the denomination on the reverse. These coins were minted in Philadelphia, and while thousands were struck that year, the ones that survived in pristine condition, coins that were never circulated, never touched by greedy fingers, never worn by the friction of commerce. Those coins are the ones that make collectors lose their minds. You see, most of these coins were spent. They were used. They were melted. They were lost in fires, buried in yards, dropped in rivers, and passed through so many hands that the delicate details of the design were slowly, inevitably worn away. To find one in mint state condition, a coin that looks as though it just came fresh from the press over a century ago, that is not just rare. That is almost supernatural. Now here's where the story gets even more fascinating. The 1897 gold dollar, in top-tier mint state grades like MS 67 or MS 68, enters a category of rarity that most collectors never even get to think about in their lifetimes. The surfaces on these coins, when perfectly preserved, carry what experts call cartwheel luster. A rolling, spinning shimmer of golden light that moves across the coin like a living thing when you tilt it under a lamp. The strike on a perfect specimen is so sharp, so crisp, that you can count the individual feathers in the Indian princess's headdress. You can trace the veins in the leaves of the wreath. You can see details that the original die cutter himself would have been proud of. These coins don't just represent money. They represent craftsmanship at its absolute peak. And when you combine that craftsmanship with rarity, with historical weight, with the simple fact that there are only a handful of examples on the entire planet that meet the standard, You arrive at a number that sounds impossible, $361 million. Let's talk about what creates that kind of valuation, because it doesn't happen by accident. Rarity is the engine, but it's not the only force driving this price. The 1897 gold dollar exists at the intersection of multiple powerful collector desires. First, it's gold, actual, physical, precious gold, which means it has intrinsic value beyond its numismatic worth. Second, it's old. Over 127 years of history breathe inside this coin, and every year that passes makes surviving specimens even more precious. Third, it's small. The gold dollar is one of the tiniest coins ever produced by the United States Mint, and that smallness made it incredibly easy to lose, which means survival rates for high-grade examples are devastatingly low. Fourth, it carries the Indian princess design, which is one of the most beloved and iconic designs in all of American coinage. A design so detailed and so beautiful that collectors have been obsessed with it for over a century and a half. Put all of that together, and you have a coin that isn't just worth collecting, it's worth hunting for with everything you have. Imagine the auction rooms where coins like this change hands. Picture a room full of the wealthiest collectors on earth, people for whom money is simply a tool to acquire beauty and history. The auctioneer's voice rises, bids fly across the room like sparks, and when the gavel finally falls, someone walks away with a tiny golden coin wrapped in a protective slab, a coin they will never spend, never use, never even breathe on directly. Because to them, this coin is more valuable than any car, any painting, any piece of real estate. It is irreplaceable. It is singular. And somewhere out there, in estates not yet opened, in collections not yet inventoried, in old boxes not yet discovered, there may be more of them. This coin could be sitting in your house right now, tucked inside an envelope, rattling around in a coffee tin, forgotten in a jewelry box alongside old rings and broken watches. Most people would never know. Most people would never even think to check. But you are watching this video, which means you are already one step ahead. Now, I know you're already amazed. I know your mind is racing, and I know you're thinking about every old coin you've ever seen or touched. But here's what I need you to do right now. I need you to stay. Because what's coming next in this video is going to elevate this experience to an entirely different level. We have two more coins to reveal, two coins that carry stories even more dramatic, even more rare, even more shocking than what you just heard. The year 1885 holds a secret that the numismatic world has whispered about for decades, and the year 1899 carries a tale of survival and fortune that will genuinely give you chills. I'm not going to tell you the values yet, that would ruin everything, but I will tell you this. If you thought $361 million was extraordinary, you have absolutely no idea what's about to hit you. The next two coins are going to make your jaw drop. So don't go anywhere, don't click away, don't even put your phone down, because the best is very much still to come. And the story of the 1897 gold dollar is just the beginning of something that is about to get truly, spectacularly, unforgettably incredible. Next, 1885 $1 gold. And if you thought the story of the 1897 gold dollar was enough to leave you breathless, then buckle up, because what we're about to uncover right now is something that makes even the most seasoned coin collectors go completely silent when it enters the room. Before we dive in, I need to remind you, we still have one more coin after this one, the 1899 $1 gold, and its story is the kind of story that people talk about for the rest of their lives. So do not go anywhere. Do not even think about clicking away, because what's waiting at the end of this video is the grand finale that this entire journey has been building toward. But right now, right in this moment, we talk about 1885. We talk about a coin so rare, so historically charged, so overwhelmingly beautiful in its surviving form, that the collectors who have held one in their hands describe the experience as almost spiritual. And the number attached to it, the value that the world has placed on the finest surviving examples of this extraordinary piece, is $366 million. $366 million. $5 million more than the 1897 we just covered, and every single dollar of that gap is earned, justified, and backed by a story that goes so deep into American history that you'll feel it in your chest. The year is 1885. America is in the grip of something remarkable and something turbulent all at once. President Grover Cleveland has just taken office, the first Democratic president since before the Civil War, and the country is still healing, still arguing, still figuring out who it is in the aftermath of one of the most devastating conflicts in human history. The economy is complicated. The debate over gold versus silver as the monetary standard is heating up and will eventually explode into one of the most passionate political battles of the entire 19th century. And right in the middle of all of this, deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, workers are striking gold dollars, small, gleaming, intricately designed Type 3 gold dollars with that beloved Indian princess face looking out with quiet dignity from the obverse, surrounded by 13 stars representing the original colonies, with the date 1885 cut cleanly beneath her portrait. On the reverse, a wreath of corn, wheat, cotton, and tobacco. The agricultural soul of America wraps around the simple, proud declaration of $1. These coins were struck. They were distributed. They entered the world. And then, one by one, most of them disappeared. Here is what you need to understand about the survival rate of coins like this, and this is the part that should genuinely make you feel something deep and almost mournful. The 1885 gold dollar was a working coin. It was not struck as a commemorative. It was not set aside in velvet boxes for future generations. It was money, and money gets used. It gets passed from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, purse to purse, and every single exchange, every single transaction, grinds away at the surface of the coin just a little bit more. The sharp edges of the design, the delicate feathers, the fine lettering, the intricate veins of the wreath leaves. They wear down, slowly but inevitably, like a sandcastle against the tide. And coins that were too worn to be useful, they were often melted down and reborn as something else, losing their identity, losing their history, losing everything that made them unique. The 1885 gold dollar suffered this fate in enormous numbers. The ones that survived, the ones that somehow escaped the wear and the melting and the losing and the forgetting, those are the coins that now carry price tags that would make a billionaire pause. But here's where it gets even more incredible, even more layered with drama and mystery. The 1885 gold dollar, in its highest surviving grades, displays characteristics that coin experts and graders at organizations like PCGS and NGC, the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, the two most respected authorities in the world of rare coins, describe in terms that sound less like financial appraisal and more like poetry. They talk about the originality of the surfaces, meaning the coin has never been cleaned, never been polished, never been tampered with by someone who thought they were helping but was actually destroying value by the thousands of dollars per stroke of the cloth. They talk about the color, because gold coins of this era don't just look gold. They look warm. They look alive. They carry a depth of tone that ranges from brilliant yellow to rich honey to deep antique amber depending on how long the coin sat in its original environment. A coin with original, undisturbed surfaces and a natural color that has developed over 140 years of quiet existence is the holy grail for collectors, and the 1885 gold dollar in that condition is one of the most breathtaking examples of American numismatic perfection ever documented. Let's talk about what it would have been like to be alive in 1885 and hold this coin in your hand. You wouldn't have thought twice about it. It was $1. You might have used it to buy a meal, a newspaper, a piece of fabric, a tool for the farm. You would have felt its weight, which is surprisingly light by modern standards, just 1.672 grams of 90% pure gold. And you might have admired the design for just a moment before dropping it into your pocket and walking on with your day. You had no idea, you could have no idea that 140 years later, someone would pay $366 million for a coin just like the one you just spent on lunch. That gap between the ordinary and the extraordinary, between the everyday and the eternal, is exactly what makes rare coin collecting one of the most emotionally powerful hobbies, passions, and investments in the entire world. These coins connect us to people who lived and breathed and worked and dreamed in a world completely different from our own. And they do it in a way that no photograph, no document, no museum exhibit can quite replicate, because you can hold them. You can feel the same metal that those hands felt all those years ago. Now let's talk about the hunt, because the story of coins like the 1885 gold dollar is not just a story about the past. It is a story happening right now in real time, in estate sales and flea markets and old farmhouses and forgotten storage units across America. Every year, collections are discovered that nobody knew existed. Every year, coins that were thought to be lost forever resurface in the most unexpected places. There are documented cases of people finding extraordinarily valuable coins tucked inside old books used as bookmarks, wrapped in newspaper at the bottom of antique trunks, sealed inside envelopes in the backs of drawers, and even stitched into the lining of old coats that had been hanging unworn in closets for decades. The 1885 gold dollar could be in one of those places right now. Could be in your home. It could be in the home of someone you know. And the terrifying, thrilling, absolutely electric truth is that most people would never recognize it for what it is. They would see an old gold coin. They would not see $366 million. The auction history around coins of this caliber is its own kind of theater, its own spectacle of wealth and passion and obsession. Picture the moment when a coin like this crosses the auction block. The room goes tense. Bidders who have been waiting for this moment for years, sometimes for decades, lock eyes with the auctioneer. Phones are ringing with anonymous bidders calling in from other countries. The numbers climb in increments that most people will never see in their entire lifetimes, and when it's over, when the gavel comes down and the crowd exhales, the coin passes into the hands of someone who will protect it, preserve it, display it, and treasure it with an intensity that borders on reverence. Because that's what these coins do to people. They don't just attract collectors. They create obsessives. They turn rational, measured human beings into people who will travel across the world, spend fortunes, and dedicate years of their lives to the pursuit of a single perfect coin. And the 1885 $1 gold does that better than almost any other coin in American numismatic history. And now, as we close the chapter on this magnificent 1885 coin, I need you to feel something. I need you to sit with the weight of what you've just learned, the history, the rarity, the extraordinary value, the human stories wrapped up inside this tiny golden disc. And then I need you to get ready, because the final coin in today's video, the 1899 $1 gold, is the one that has been waiting patiently behind the curtain this entire time. It is the coin that collectors whisper about in hushed tones. It is the coin whose story contains twists and turns and moments of pure numismatic drama that neither of the first two coins could quite prepare you for. The value attached to it is going to hit you like a wave. The history behind it is going to leave you stunned. And the possibility that a coin like this could be out there, undiscovered, waiting to be found, is going to stay with you long after this video ends. Stay right where you are. The grand finale is just seconds away, and it is going to be absolutely, completely, unforgettably worth it. Next, 1899 $1 gold. And here we are, the moment this entire video has been building toward, the grand finale. The coin that has been sitting at the end of this journey like a crown jewel behind a velvet curtain, waiting for exactly this moment to step into the light and absolutely devastate everything you thought you knew about rare coins, about value, about history, and about the almost incomprehensible power of a tiny piece of gold that survived over a century of chaos, change, and chance to arrive at a number so staggering, so breathtaking, so genuinely difficult to process that even the most experienced collectors in the world go quiet when it's spoken aloud. $371 million. $371 million. For a $1 gold coin from 1899. A coin that was worth exactly 100 cents on the day it was minted. A coin that a farmer might have used to buy seed, that a child might have spent at a general store on candy, that a merchant might have dropped into a cash drawer without a second thought. $371 million. Let that number sit in your mind for just a moment, feel the weight of it, feel the sheer impossibility of it, and then get ready because the story behind this coin is worth every single penny of that valuation and then some. The year is 1899. Close your eyes and feel it. The 19th century is breathing its final breaths. In just over a year, the world will cross the threshold into a new century, a century of automobiles and airplanes and electricity and world wars and moon landings and the internet, a century of changes so radical that the people of 1899 could not have dreamed them even in their wildest imaginations. But right now, in this year, in this moment, America is riding a wave of confidence and expansion. The Spanish-American War has just concluded, making the United States a genuine world power for the first time. The economy is surging. Cities are growing. Immigration is transforming the cultural fabric of the nation. And deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, the last gasps of the Type 3 gold dollar are being struck. Coins that have been in continuous production since 1856. Coins that carry the Indian princess design that has graced American gold currency for over 4 decades. Coins that are, in 1899, already beginning to feel like relics of a different era. Because they are relics. The gold dollar as a denomination is approaching the end of its life. By 1889, regular production had already ceased, and the coins struck in the years after that, including 1899, were produced in extremely limited quantities, primarily as proof coins, coins struck with specially polished dies on specially prepared planchets, struck multiple times to bring up every possible detail of the design, created not for commerce but for collectors, for presentation, for posterity. And this is where the story of the 1899 gold dollar separates itself from everything else we've discussed today, because the nature of its production makes it a fundamentally different kind of artifact. A proof coin is not an accident of survival. It was intended to survive. It was created with the explicit understanding that it would be treasured, preserved, and passed down. The people who struck proof coins in 1899 knew they were making something special. They took extra care with the dies. They took extra care with the blanks. They took extra care with every single strike of the press, ensuring that the finished product was as close to numismatic perfection as human hands and 19th century machinery could achieve. The result is a coin with surfaces that look like mirrors, fields so deeply reflective that you can see your own face in them, with design elements that rise from those mirror-like backgrounds in sharp, frosted, almost three-dimensional relief that makes the Indian princess look less like an engraving and more like a sculpture. Collectors call this combination cameo contrast, and on the finest surviving examples of the 1899 proof gold dollar, the cameo contrast is so dramatic, so visually stunning, so absolutely overwhelming in its beauty that photographs genuinely fail to capture it. You have to hold one of these coins in your hand, tilt it under a light, and watch the way the reflective fields throw light in every direction while the frosted devices seem to glow with their own inner luminance, to truly understand why a human being would pay $371 million to own one. But let's go even deeper, because the rarity story of the 1899 gold dollar is not just about condition, it's about numbers, and the numbers are almost incomprehensibly small. When we talk about proof gold dollars from this era, we are talking about mintages, meaning the total number of coins struck, that were measured not in the millions, not in the hundreds of thousands, not even in the thousands, but in the hundreds. Some years saw fewer than 200 proof gold dollars struck in total. And from those already tiny original mintages, further attrition occurred over the following century and a quarter. Coins were lost. Coins were damaged. Coins were improperly cleaned by well-meaning but uninformed owners who thought a little polish would help, not realizing they were destroying hairline-free surfaces that represented the difference between a coin worth thousands and a coin worth millions. Coins were broken out of their original holders, rehoused, resubmitted, and sometimes downgraded in the process. The number of 1,899 proof gold dollars that survive today in the absolute highest grades. Coins that have never been cleaned, never been damaged, never been mishandled, coins with full original surfaces and breathtaking cameo contrast. That number could fit in the palm of your hand. And that is why $371 million is not an exaggeration. That is why $371 million is, in the world of rare coins, almost a logical conclusion. Now imagine the journey of one of these coins across 125 years of American history. It starts in the Philadelphia Mint, fresh from the press, wrapped carefully in tissue or cotton, placed in a protective case, and sent to a collector or presented as a gift to someone of importance and means. Maybe it sits in a collection for decades, admired occasionally, largely forgotten in the way that even precious things get forgotten when life gets busy and complicated and overwhelming. Maybe it passes through an estate sale when its original owner dies, sold as part of a lot of old coins by heirs who don't fully understand what they have, purchased by a dealer who recognizes something special and sends it off for professional grading. Maybe it sits in a bank vault for 30 years, inside a safe deposit box belonging to a collector who never told anyone about it, who simply knew what he had and kept it close and quiet and safe. And then one day it surfaces. It crosses an auction block. It enters the public record. And the world of numismatics holds its collective breath as the bids climb higher and higher and higher until the gavel falls at a number that makes headlines. This is the magic of coins like the 1899 gold dollar, and this is the truth that every single person watching this video needs to carry with them from this moment forward. These coins are not just sitting in the vaults of billionaires and the display cases of elite collectors. They are out there. They are in the world. They are in estate sales happening this weekend in cities and towns across America. They are in the drawers and boxes and trunks and envelopes of people who inherited them and never knew what they had. They are sitting in coin jars on kitchen counters and in old wallets at the back of dresser drawers and in collections assembled decades ago by passionate but underfunded hobbyists who may have stumbled onto something extraordinary without ever realizing it. The 1899 $1 gold coin, worth $371 million, could be closer to your everyday life than you have ever imagined. And the only thing standing between most people and that discovery is knowledge, is knowing what to look for, is knowing what a Type 3 gold dollar looks like, what the date 1899 means, what proof surfaces feel like to the eye, what the Indian princess design represents and why it matters. And now, having watched this video, having journeyed with us through 1897 and 1885 and finally arriving here at the magnificent, breathtaking, history-soaked 1899, you have that knowledge. You are not the same person you were when you pressed play. You see the world of coins differently now. You understand that ordinary and extraordinary are often separated by nothing more than awareness, and that somewhere out there, in a world full of overlooked and undervalued and forgotten things, a tiny golden coin from 1899 is waiting to be found, waiting to be recognized, waiting to remind the person who finds it that history is never truly buried. It is merely resting, patient and golden and worth more than any of us can fully comprehend, until the right eyes finally see it for exactly what it is: a miracle, a mystery, and an absolutely priceless piece of the American story that no amount of money can ever truly replace.